Good morning. Second, I'm letting everybody into the meeting. Good morning. Everybody's trickling in. Does anybody have any questions about the assignment or anything that we've talked about? Oh, we're good so far. Before we get started on the peer review for this paper, I'd like to talk a little bit about the video that you guys watched. It talks about the new kind of writing that we're going into. So what is the difference, according to the video, between the informal kind of writing we've been doing and the more formal kind of writing for academic papers? You can type it in the chat or just say it. Morning, Caleb. Hold on, you can't hear. Let me see. Okay. Everybody here now? No. This is the question of the moment. What's the difference between writing informally, like you guys did for your first two essays, the one that was autobiographical, where you talked about your experience, right, with writing or language or literature. And the last one where you talked about a process that you knew. Now we're moving into academic writing, which is the style of writing you're going to do for most of the papers from here on out for all your classes, and you may already be doing it for some classes, right? So what does she say are some of the things in the video that she talks about that you don't want to do in academic writing, things that you want to avoid? Yeah, so you're more casual, right? That line says when you're doing the informal style of writing. So the way you talk to your friends, right? Or your family, or just people when you're not doing anything more business-like or formal. Yes, that's a big one, Matt, which is do not use I or you, the pronouns, unless your instructor explicitly asks for your personal opinion with something, and then they're giving you permission. And even then, you don't really need it for your opinion as much as if you're offering some of your experience. Because you can say in the draft, I think we should, unless I go away, have school uniforms, right? But it's really stronger to say school uniforms. And then remember we talked about the essay map for thesis statements where you can kind of map out the main points that you're going to use. School uniforms improve academic performance, equalize classes. I don't mean like, I mean like social classes. Not the actual classes, right? And create a sense of camaraderie. And then we know, right, that you're going to talk about those three things. So avoid using personal pronouns unless your instructor asks you for your experience. Then you can't get around using it. You have to say, this happened to me, right? But otherwise, you're supposed to maintain a more objective tone. So you can say society, people, Republicans, you know, be more specific about who you're identifying. That's a big one. Stay away from first person and second person. It was good for your process, right? Because you say first you do this, then you take this, then you know, proceed to this step. But for the writing style we're going into for this next paper, now that you've done the draft, you want to translate it, right, into a more formal style. So what else besides avoiding personal pronouns did she talked about in the video? Pull up the video on your other screen if you can't remember some of the things she talked about.
Like second doesn't.
What about word choice? What did she say about word choice? Anyone, Bueller? What if I had kids in there? What would you replace it with?
I want to do this. You don't want to do it either. You'll have to call some.
What'd you say, Alexis? Was that Alexis? Kids could be replaced with children, right? Thanks, Matt. So the language formality needs to increase. So whatever you have in your draft now, when you guys are peer reviewing for each other, go through and circle any words, okay, that you feel could be upgraded, basically, made more formal. And we already talked about that with words like good, bad, happy, you know, all those sort of generic words that you can have better words for. But it's more like business style writing, or like you guys did when you were doing your resumes and your cover letters. Yeah, avoid cliches, like Adeline says, right? No cliches. You're going to use less figurative language generally. I mean, you can use some. Everything just has a more formal tone to it. Right, you want to be more precise in your language. Thanks, Mary. So instead of a lot of, many, right? Sort of, again, it's sounding too, you know, informal. So no personal pronouns like I and you, more formal word choice, right? No vague sort of language. Okay. Yes, your tone, especially for the paper we're doing with argument, the tone has to be reasonable. Okay, because if people are, how do we put this? It's good to be passionate about your issue, but if you come across as unreasonable, then we don't trust you as the writer, and it hurts your ethos. Ethos is how you appeal to us by how much we trust you. Like your tone sounds reasonable, the words you use sound smart, the arguments you use sound logical and are logical. Well, I'd like you guys to do a little brainstorming activity and add to the chat some words that you associate with argument. Because besides looking at like formalizing your style and your word choice, right, we're going to look at how to use a reasonable tone. So if you hear the word argument, we're going to do kind of a brainstorming. What words and ideas do you associate with argument? Argument means what? Everybody add a word. Justify. That's a good word. Contrasting viewpoints. I like it. Many reasons. Yeah, you have to have more than one reason for what you believe. Reject, disagreement, good. Debate. Any negative words that you associate with argument? When someone's arguing, what don't you like? If they're arguing, what sort of puts you off their argument? Repetition, right? Overpowering tone, very good, yes. That's why tone is important when you guys peer review for each other, because reasonable equals success, and unreasonable, basically, even if they have a valid argument or they could be right about what they're saying, unreasonable tone means you don't convince people. What kind of arguing do you guys do? Is your tone reasonable or is it unreasonable? Sometimes mine's not reasonable. It's true, yeah. If I'm talking to my brother, I almost always cannot be reasonable. Perhaps it's because we grew up together, but something about him just pushes my buttons. But am I really trying to convince certain people? Sometimes not. Sometimes I just want to win, right? This is usually not the most constructive type of arguments. Winning, what is it to win an argument? What does it mean to win an argument? What do you think it means if you win? Yeah, that's the one I tend to lean toward, Alexis. Prove the other person wrong, right? They believe, now, and Matt's got the other side of it, which is you persuade them, right? One is like persuasion means you've convinced them, and the other one means victory without necessarily any persuasion. So I'm not sure we've accomplished a whole lot other than making ourselves feel better if we have the sort of, combative view of argument. Persuading someone means we can't piss them off, right? We can't use a words or a tone or, yeah. Right. So the kind of argument that we're kind of striving for is more like we are trying to persuade someone instead of just getting one over on them or having a victory or proving ourselves right. You know, even though those are very human things. And you guys are going to watch a video for next week, and then we're going to kind of compare and contrast where he's talking about argument and what the purpose of argument is, and what we're trying to accomplish when we argue. It's a TED Talk, and I'll post it after the class meeting. Right now, I'd like you to email your draft to at least 2 people and then exchange with them, and they can email you and give you their draft and you respond to it. Okay, so email your draft to at least 2 classmates, and then peer review for 2 classmates. You'll probably only get through one of them while I'm here, but if you have any questions as you're looking over papers, you can chat with me or talk to me. And I'm going to type some of the things you want to be looking for as you're looking at their draft. You want to help them formalize it and put it in an academic tone, because that's one of the things I'll start grading you for. And also that they are hitting all of the arguments and providing enough evidence. So I'll review over here in the chat a little bit of what we talked about last time that you're looking to include. So your thesis is going to be a statement that summarizes both positions, right? This is an informative paper. Go ahead and talk to a few people and see who's willing to accept your paper. Usually probably whoever you were peer reviewing with in class. Let me know if you need help finding somebody. There's probably some people who aren't here today who would like peer reviews. Bless you.
I totally forgot that my audio was on.